Oh man, finally! So you guys know a month or so ago, I flew out to LA to Treyarch Studios to play Black Ops 7 early. Now, if you watched my video that I dropped when I got back, then you would know that although I played Black Ops 7, I could only tell you about what they told us in the theater room during the presentation. All of the information in that video was from there, but I couldn't tell or show you what I actually played in the play session until today. Today, I can finally tell you and show you what I played in Black Ops 7 during that play session, and there's a lot to get through. But not only that, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinions on all of it too. So we're gonna start with multiplayer because you guys know I was able to play multiplayer and zombies, and I've split multiplayer up into 4 different categories: movement, maps, weapons, and score streaks. And of course, there will be some extras that don't quite fit into those categories. Do me a favor and drop a like on the video. If you are new around here, make sure you subscribe if you want to see some more Black Ops 7, but also let me know in the comments down below if I miss anything and you guys have a specific question that I didn't quite answer in this, and I'll try my best to answer it because I can now. Now, I just want to clarify, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not being paid by Activision to make this video. First of all, before we get into the categories, before we get into movement, I want to talk about the actual feel of the game, because the trailers are out now and a lot of people are forming their own opinions on how they think the game looks, maybe in comparison to previous Call of Duties. And having personally played it, Black Ops 7 literally screams Black Ops 4. I'm sorry, obviously with better movement, but the actual look of the game, even whilst playing it, it just gives those Black Ops 4 vibe. And that's not just me saying it, that's what a lot of people said after playing it too. There is also, of course, some Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 vibes in there as well, but I would definitely say more so Black Ops 4, which makes sense. First of all, because Black Ops 7 is set in 2035 and Black Ops 4 was set in the 2040s, so they're not far away from each other at all. Not only that, but BO4 was Treyarch's last futuristic Call of Duty, so, you know, it's all adding up, but they all share a lot of the similar vibes anyway. So what I would say is if you like futuristic Treyarch Call of Duties and how they look, then you will like how Black Ops 7 looks, pretty much. But let's get into the movement. So of course, Omni movement is in Black Ops 7, similar to how it was in Black Ops 6, if not the same, to be honest, other than the extra mechanic that they've added, which I will get into in a second. But not only that, of course, but you can no longer attack sprint as a default. There is a perk that you can put on if you really do want to do that, but what I felt is that it was completely fine without attack sprint. So what they've done is, since they've taken out attack sprint as a default, they've made sure to increase the movement speed and the actual normal running speed. It almost compensates for not having tac sprint, because if they just took tac sprint away, then you sprinting would feel so slow. But obviously in theory that sounds great, and they could have just increased the base sprint speed and you not really be able to feel it and you still feel slow. But having played it, I will say that I don't miss tac sprint at all. I still felt fast. I didn't feel restricted. I didn't feel the need to have to put the tac sprint perk on. You still feel fast and fluid, which is good to know. But the main thing in regards to the movement is the wall jumping. Now, everyone is pretty much wondering what this wall jumping is going to do to the game. Is it like jetpacks? Now, you guys have to remember, I was only able to play a few games of Black Ops 7, so when it comes to mastering the movement, we weren't able to get there. So in that sense, it's kind of difficult to say how much it's actually going to impact the gameplay in comparison to what we experienced in Black Ops 6. But from using it, it doesn't feel anywhere near jetpacks. Of course, there's no wall running. It's literally wall jumping. So you're just jumping off of the wall. You guys probably saw it a little bit in the trailer, and it's pretty much exactly that. So you can jump off of surfaces. I'm pretty sure you can chain 2 to 3 at a time. So you could bounce from one wall to another and then maybe to another, but I'm sure that's something they're evaluating over time and probably will change, maybe, unless it's perfect in the beta. What I noticed whilst using it is you don't keep 100% of your momentum when you're chaining the wall jump. So of course, your first one will be quite powerful, your second one will be slightly less, and then the third one, if there is a third one, will be less than that. So, and it feels smooth, which is probably the most important part. Overall, after playing it, I think the movement is a massive W. First of all, because it was a good strip back, taking away the attack sprint, which in my opinion is quite a useless and just an extra mechanic that is kind of just unnecessary and is giving all of us stick drift. But also, wall jumping is a very nice middle ground for that community of players that really enjoyed the jetpack Call of Duties, and also the players that really enjoyed the boots on the ground core regular Call of Duty. Wall jumping is a little step further from that, but not too far in the direction of jetpacks to kind of turn people off in that sense. It's not too unpredictable. You know, in the jetpack Call of Duties with the wall running, it was different because it added an all new verticality to the game that we weren't used to. You could be running and then all of a sudden someone would be wall running above your head, and unless you looked up, you wouldn't even see them. So you would have to start entering different areas of the map with the idea that someone could be above you, literally wall running, someone could be below you. It was different, and that was the skill gap in that sense. Whereas the wall jumping doesn't really add verticality to the game, it just adds some flair in certain situations, and I'm all for that. Now, still on the topic of movement, they have said that they've made some adjustments since we played, one of them being wall jump improvements to increase fluidity, another one being adjustments to make wall jumps easier and more predictable to perform, and not only that, additional treatments to multiplayer maps to clarify where players can wall jump and where they can and can't mantle. Nice. But now let's get into the maps, because the movement isn't only important for how the game actually feels, but it's important to the maps and how you traverse across them, maybe get across a certain lane, jump in certain windows. So I was able to play 2 maps during my play session. I think I played 2 matches on each of them, and you'll be happy to hear, but I love them both. Oh, here he is, glazing Call of Duty again. Now, the 2 maps that I was able to play were The Forge and Blackheart, and you guys are going to be able to play these during the beta, which is good. Now, before I go into detail on each of these individually, both of the maps scream Treyarch to me. The colors on them pop, which is, you know, what we all love from Treyarch, and it's also pretty crazy because since then, they've actually told us specifically that they've added color passes on the map to deliver signature Treyarch vibrancy. And it's funny because we already felt that way, so we're about to get even more. From what I know, everyone that played, including myself, was really happy with how the colors looked throughout. The first map that we played was The Forge, which, as it says in the blog post, is a medium-sized map that takes place in the heart of research and development for the guild's latest lethal tech. And as you can see with this image, since I've played it, I can kind of tell you the layout of the map and have a better idea of it. So this right here is one of the spawn areas. Then you have the center of the map, which is this little circular area. You can jump into this window right here, which I believe, unless it's the other side, because there's also a window on the closer side as well, one of them will take you to this room right here, which I believe the window is right there. And then you can take this pathway all the way around, which will take you to this little tunnel that takes you across. Oh, and this statue is also like the other spawn. So this is one spawn, and then this statue is the other side. You can actually see it at some point in the trailer right here. This right here is The Forge, as you can see. And right here, this is another angle of it pushing into the center of the map. This is pretty much what everyone was doing, at least in my play session, but you can wall jump, even make it into that window if you want to, or you can just go through the bottom, get into the building, and then go push their spawn, which is exactly what they did. But that's the important part right here. Look, you can actually see the layout of the map, which I noticed because I've played it. But as you can see, this right here is the statue I was talking about, which is where you can spawn. Then you can push into the center of the map, which is this circular area, and then you go through this little area right here to get to the other spawn. You see in the top left of this over the top view, that is where this part of the trailer takes place. This. So this is the top left of the map. So as you saw, it has a bunch of automatic doors similar to Black Ops 4, and when I was playing it, it kind of gave me Arsenal vibes. If you guys played Black Ops 4, you would know it's not the same layout or anything like that, but it just gives me those vibes with the automatic doors, the facility, the tech, and even just the blue sky on a nice sunny day. It's pretty much the same vibes. Oh yeah, and they did say they're focused on 3-lane maps in this game, and of course this is one of them. So, you know, you've got a spawn right here. This is one of the lanes at the top, the lane through the middle, and then you've got the lane on the left as well. W map though, I enjoyed it. I love the colors, the automatic doors, adds the futuristic look to the building, the tech all around it. It just looks nice. Then the second map that we played was Blackheart, which again, as it says in the blog post, is a small size map out at sea on a drilling platform extracting essential resources for the guild. Battle on and around the central drill or duke it out on the barge around mineral containers, pumps, and massive nautical vehicles. Now this map, from playing it, specifically reminds me of Frequency from Black Ops 4. It's actually crazy how much it resembles it in my brain anyway. I'll try my best to show it in the best way possible, but in the trailer there's a segment where the player is running from his spawn on Blackheart into the center of the map, and that's where you can kind of see the spawn area and how much it resembles Frequency, at least the spawn. And if you guys remember in Frequency, if you went to the left, then you could look down this long line of sight on a head glitch, and in the middle of that there was this little circular area that you could cut into the middle of the map from. But instead on this map is this little wall jump spot, so you'd have to jump from either this wall to this wall and then get over, or maybe on the inside to get to the middle of the map. And this is just a prime example of how they've said some of the maps are built to use the wall jumping, because I don't think you would be able to make it across this lane if you don't wall jump. So not to say that's on every map, because the Forge didn't really have a make or break situation where you had to wall jump in order to get across, but I'm sure just like this map, a lot of them will. Even the center of the map, which is, you know, this little thing right here that's spinning around, you see it in the trailer too, that kind of reminds me of Frequency. It's not the same by any means, it just gives me similar vibes, because in the middle of Frequency you could jump into the middle of the map down this little drop down, and then you could cut to one side of the map. You can't do that in this one. I'm just saying that having something in the middle of the map, not only that, having the spawn that looks almost identical, you can see why it gives those similar vibes. This was actually the map that I streaked up on, and I found myself more so on the left side of the map, so the opposite side to the wall run. So I was killing people that were spawning where this guy just spawned pretty much. Everyone pushing through this door, I was killing from this doorway right here. So on the left is that wall jump area where you can jump into the middle of the map if you want to, but on the right, you go into a little room and then you can eventually get out to this side of the map. But pretty much what I'm saying is there's good ways to look at when people are spawning up from doors like this, where you can just watch the automatic door and let them run through and beam them. Like I said, I got the VTOL warship, which in our build was the final score streak that you could get, but I'll talk about that more when we get to the score streak section later in this video. Basically, to sum this map up, I would say if you like a fast-paced, smaller map, you will love this map. And it has some cool features to it too. It's not like a Babylon, where this map actually has some cool aspects to it. You know, the automatic doors, the spinning parts, the wall jump areas. But to sum the maps up, what I would say is this is the most excited I've been to play maps in such a long time. I haven't been this hyped to try new maps in ages. Black Ops 6 was a massive disappointment as far as maps go. They just lacked character. You didn't want to explore the maps. There was just nothing to them. And to be fair, the game was set in the past, so there's only so much they could really do. But this game, with these maps, it felt so much more OG Treyarch, where you would actually be excited to try new maps, see what they look like, look at how just beautiful they are, first of all, but see the different features of them. And I know it's a good sign when people are seeing the previews of the maps at the end of the trailer and are actually getting excited and are hopeful for them, because they can see how much color and how much actual identity they have. And coming from someone who's actually played some of them, I can tell you, no, it's not just the images, it's not just the little 3-second clips that they have. The maps are actually good. Well, at least the two that I've played, which I can say makes me hopeful for all of the other maps that are to come. Not to say they're all gonna be great. I don't know. I doubt they'll all be great, of course. I'm just saying the two that I played were good, and it's a good sign. That's all. It's crazy how important maps are to Call of Duty. It's their whole identity. It's the core of the game, and if they aren't good, it's difficult for people to see that game as good. I remember at the start of Black Ops 6, before they let us down completely with all the post-launch content, people were saying that the only thing letting us down with this game is the maps. Everything else at the start was good. So I think it's fair to say that Treyarch is best in a futuristic setting. But let's get into the weapons. Now, I used a few different weapons during our play session, and I have to say that there was one that stood out to absolutely everybody playing, and it just so happens to be the weapon that I pulled out and actually streaked up with. Obviously, it's important to say that what we felt when we played in our play session might not be the exact same in the beta and of course the full game, but this is just what I experienced. So first of all, I tried out the Peacekeeper MK1, and the way I would describe this weapon after using it is it's exactly what we remember from the past CODs. It's not really any different, not just the visual of it, but just the feel. From what I remember, the Peacekeeper was never the best weapon in the game, or was it? I don't know. It was kind of just a satisfying weapon to use, I guess, and it's obviously iconic because it was the first ever DLC weapon that Call of Duty had, but it felt very nostalgic to use. It felt very reminiscent of those past versions, but I wouldn't say it was a standout weapon in terms of performance, which not every weapon has to be, but it didn't have the best range, but it had pretty good mobility for an assault rifle, and that's pretty much how it felt in the past. So the Peacekeeper is the Peacekeeper, pretty much. But then I thought, let me try another weapon, and that's when I whipped out the M8A1. Now, I was a little bit hesitant to pull this weapon out because it's a marksman rifle in Black Ops 7, if you guys don't know, so it's not in the assault rifle category, it's in the marksman rifle category. And I don't know why, I don't know if it's just me, but when I hear marksman rifle, I just think it's automatically going to be a little bit slower in comparison to an assault rifle. Yeah, I was wrong. In the build that we played, the M8A1 was by far the best weapon in the game. I'm telling you, I pulled that weapon out and just went absolutely crazy. I popped off, I went on like a 15 kill streak, and you have to think it has to be pretty good for me to be able to use it and do well with it on a map like Blackheart, which is a small map with quite enclosed areas. If I remember correctly, it can one burst, of course, if you hit them high enough in the body. It's really satisfying to use. If you've used an M8 before in any other Call of Duty, well, any other Treyarch Call of Duty, then you would know it just, I don't know, that was one of the best parts about it. The potential to get a one burst, how satisfying it just felt to hit all 4 bullets of your burst. There's just something different about that weapon, and it had that feeling, which was just so, I don't know how to describe it. It was just so fun. And although it's a marksman rifle, to my surprise, it just felt like an assault rifle. Like it could easily be in that category. Honorable mentions, I don't know if I even used this in the build or even whether it was available in the build that I played, but the MXR17, you can tell it's a SCAR pretty much, but I would say that it definitely more so resembles the Rampart from Black Ops 4, although they're all pretty similar, the SCAR, Rampart, you know, but it definitely resembles more of that from what I can tell, you know, the slower fire rate, heavy hitting type of thing. Yeah, and I was right about the Peacekeeper, to be fair. Full auto, exceptional mobility, which is what I felt with the Peacekeeper. It just didn't feel the best at range. Oh yeah, actually, limited range. See, I know what I'm talking about. But all of the guns that I used felt very Treyarch, and I think that's more so because it's a futuristic Call of Duty, and you guys have to remember, all of our favorite Treyarch Call of Duties are futuristic. Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, and Black Ops 4. So it kind of only makes sense for another futuristic Treyarch COD to come out and it feel very nostalgic to us and almost be what we see Treyarch as, you know? All of the stuff that I thought whilst playing was, damn, Treyarch just needed to go back into the future. That's what it is. I don't know why it took this long for me to realize that all of their best games were in the future. But let's move on to the score streaks. Now, they've already said that going into making the score streaks, they're aiming for more of that OG Treyarch feel to where the score streaks were actually good and felt kind of dominant, or at least more rewarding and worth your time. Obviously, in the build that I played, there was only a limited selection of score streaks that we could use, but as I mentioned earlier, I managed to get the VTOL warship, which I don't remember how many kills it took to get the VTOL, but I did end up going on like a 15 gun streak, so somewhere around there. If I was to guess, it's probably around 12. And from what I experienced, it was actually pretty dominant. It was really fun to use. You could see it a little bit in the trailer too. You can tell it gives you that orange thermal vision, which I love because, I don't know, that just reminds me so much of like a Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, maybe even Black Ops 4, where the score streaks would give you that thermal vision where the enemies are showing up in that just full orange. I know for me personally, I know with a lot of you guys as well, I've kind of fallen out of love with score streaks, at least in the past few Call of Duties. I just didn't think they were really worth my time. I would much prefer to just have a UAV, counter UAV, and a harp on just so that I could get the nuke. You know, I don't really want to sit in a controllable score streak. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I feel like recently a lot of the score streaks kind of feel a little bit hit or miss, whereas the harp is really just dependent on you. You know, you can do what you want. And especially with them adding the specialist wildcard to this game where you can just earn perks instead of score streaks, they kind of have to make the score streaks in this game good to give people a reason to use them. And from what I felt with that one score streak, I can kind of see them going in that direction. Obviously, I only got it once, so it's difficult to tell, but even since then, they have said to us that they've added score streak tuning adjustments to ensure they are rewarding and powerful. For example, increased weapon power for the Rhino and VTOL warship. So from the VTOL warship that I already used, which felt really good, I was just mopping people down in their spawn. Genuinely, people were getting angry. I was actually spawn camping people with my VTOL, so it was pretty good. Since then, they've made it even more rewarding. So I also got the dog score streak, which is that mini robot that you saw quite a lot in the trailer. I called it in and it didn't really do too much for me. If I remember correctly, there's a mode that you can put it in where it stays with you, or you can set it so that it runs around the map and finds people. That didn't do much for me, but again, it's difficult to say because I only used each of these score streaks once. So maybe the dog just had a bad run. I don't know, and I just had a good run with the VTOL, which is why they had to make adjustments. Who knows? The VTOL was pretty fun, in my opinion. Will I actually use it when the game's out? I don't know. I will also say that I didn't really look too much into the overclock system for these score streaks, or for anything for that matter, so I don't know how much it will really impact it. If that was my experience playing it, I can see a lot of people kind of just ignoring the overclocks, or maybe just throwing them on because they might as well. But the overclock for the VTOL is adds ability to boost in a direction, breaking enemy rocket lock on, and the second one is increased durability. So this overclock one would probably be really cool for it and will make it feel even better. Now that's it as far as the 4 categories go, but as an extra, the HUD is obviously revamped and a more futuristic look to it. I don't know if they've even put out what the HUD actually looks like. I know it's not in the trailer, but I've seen it, obviously, having played, and it looks futuristic. It makes sense with Black Ops 7. There's not really much I can say other than the fact that I actually really liked it, you know? But what I will say is it fits the theme for it, and it is cool to have one that is distinctively different. Back in the day, you could just see the difference in Call of Duty just from the menu. Like, it looked totally different, and even that got you excited to play. So the HUD, I will say, did catch my eye, and it is different to what we've had, which is a good thing. Now, before we get into zombies, let me give you my overall opinion of Black Ops 7 multiplayer after playing it. Of course, only in my build. I haven't played the beta that you guys will be playing in a week. I haven't played the full game, but my opinion after playing what I played, absolute W. I don't even know what else to say. I'll put it like this, and I know a lot of you guys hate to hear me say this. I didn't come out of playing Black Ops 7 multiplayer with anything bad to say. Genuinely, we didn't really have much bad to say about Black Ops 6 either. At the beginning, you have to remember, before we got any of the post-launch content, any of that, we didn't have much bad to say other than the maps. The maps let down Black Ops 6 so much, but now I'm in love with the maps in Black Ops 7, as well as, you know, all of the other stuff that I was able to try out. There's nothing bad for me to say just yet, and I'm talking about playing it. I'm not talking about things that I've read. I'm not talking about any of that outside experience. I'm talking about actually sitting there and playing Black Ops 7. I didn't have anything bad to say. Can you guys imagine playing a new Call of Duty early and you really enjoy it, and then you have to come back to Black Ops 6 that's hardly getting any content? Understand though that I've only played 2 maps. I've only used 2 weapons because when I found the M8, I didn't try any others. So there is a bunch of other maps that will be available that might not be as good as the ones I've played. Maybe they will. There's probably a bunch of other weapons that might not be as good as the ones that I've used. maybe they will. But I just think it's a good sign from what I've seen and played so far that it was actually really good, you know? With all that said too, it's important to know that there's a bunch of equipment that we didn't really try out, a bunch of field upgrades like active camo and, you know, a bunch of things like that we didn't really get to try, but when it comes to the beta and the full game could have a massive impact on the game and make it feel worse or better, who knows? Before we close out multiplayer, I just want to say all of this stuff is all well and good. This could be some of the best stuff that you've ever heard. It could be the best stuff that I've ever played, but it will always be let down by one thing. And that's skill-based matchmaking. It just limits creativity too much. You play the game, you play it well, and then you might want to mess around and use an off-meta weapon. You pull it out and realize that you can't do anything with it because everyone in your lobby is trying just as hard as you were with your meta weapons. So now you have to go back to the meta weapons to even do anything. What happens is you can have a great game with great things that you might want to try out, but then skill-based matchmaking will filter all of that and put you in lobbies where you have to use the meta thing. And by the way, that's not to say a game can't be really good with skill-based matchmaking. Of course it can, but that really good game without skill-based matchmaking could be absolute peak. And I don't know if I could ever see people seeing a Call of Duty that has skill-based matchmaking as the best Call of Duty ever or one of the best CODs ever, you know? Although it might have all of the ingredients for it. And let's be honest, Black Ops 7 does. So in my opinion, we have an absolutely great multiplayer on our hands. The best that we've had in a long time, but with one change, it could be goated. But let's get into zombies. Now, this is going to be a way smaller section than what I've talked about already with multiplayer, just because we only played one game of zombies, and I guess some of the stuff that I've already talked about transfers over to zombies as well, such as the movement. But as you know, maybe you don't know, the zombies map in Black Ops 7 launch map is Ashes of the Damned. This is a map that is similar to Transit in the sense that there's a vehicle that takes you around to the different POIs on the map, and in between those POIs there's fog that you don't really want to be caught in and stay in for too long. Now, what you'll also remember from Transit is each of those POIs was also made into its own miniature map that you could also play and enjoy rather than having to play the whole massive map. Ashes of the Damned has the same thing. So in Black Ops 7 Zombies, it has survival where you're playing on one of those smaller POIs from the larger map, and that's what we played. So yes, we played Black Ops 7 Zombies, but we didn't actually play the main launch map. We just played in one of those POIs, which was Farm. I don't know if that's the actual name of the POI, but that's what it was. It was a farm. You actually see it in some of the teasers that they've put out for Zombies, which is pretty cool. And pretty much, if you don't understand how this works, so survival is a fast-paced, streamlined mode within the larger overall Zombies offering, which will include the full Ashes of the Damned round-based Zombies experience and multiple core Zombies modes, standard, directed, and cursed, as well as the debut of Dead Ops Arcade. So I don't really know what the bigger map Ashes of the Damned is actually like. I mean, I can get the kind of vibe of it from playing Farm. We played it, we spawned in the middle of the farm, there's like a farmhouse, there's a barn that you can go in as well, which is where the Pack-a-Punch was. It just felt really easy, you know? We went into the barn, we were able to Pack-a-Punch pretty much straight away. I think to turn the power on, we had to shoot cysts off this weird device that was on the map next to us, and once we shot all of those off, I'm pretty sure we turned on the power. Once the power was on, we could just open the door in the barn and get Pack-a-Punch. It was really easy. We then opened the door to another barn, which is where the mystery box was, and I mean, yeah, one of us got the ray gun. There just wasn't much to say about it. The house that was in front of us, you could go in there, you could go upstairs, you could even go in the basement. In the basement, I believe, is where the perk machine was, that machine where you can get all of the perks. I'm not the biggest zombies guy, so I don't know the names of these things. But yeah, if you guys have played Black Ops 6 Zombies, then I guess all of those mechanics are kind of in this one too. You know, the armor system, all of that stuff that you're familiar with from Black Ops 6 is in Black Ops 7. Maybe some of the other Zombies guys were able to spot certain things in the map that were different to what we have experienced before, or maybe are massive things that I just didn't really pay attention to. But I think the main thing is we haven't played the bigger map, the actual main launch map, Ashes of the Damned. I could see these survival maps being pretty good for the camo grind, maybe because you don't want to have the whole map to have to explore, but these survival maps might make it easier to do all of those camo challenges, such as the critical kills and stuff like that, maybe as a replacement of having a Liberty Falls and then an actual proper zombies map like Terminus. Maybe this time they've gone for the approach of having the main zombies map, which is Ashes of the Damned, but if you want more of a streamlined experience for your camo grind, or even just, I don't know, to stay in a small area and see what rounds you can get up to, survival is there for you. So I wouldn't be surprised after playing it if survival ends up being one of the more popular modes in zombies, because just like with Liberty Falls, people are going in there to do camos and other things rather than just there to play zombies. That's what happened with Liberty Falls. They came out and said that it ended up being the most successful map of all time, or the most played map of all time, which is crazy because Liberty Falls is nothing special as far as zombies maps go, but it's because of all of the XP glitches and all of the camo grinds that people are going in there for. That's why it's played more than all of the others. I'm sure if the camos were easier in Terminus and there was more XP glitches in Terminus, that Terminus would be the most played map of all time. So don't be surprised if maybe survival doesn't sound that great and it doesn't look that great. It ends up being the most played thing. I will say though, it was cool to have the main characters back and hear their voice lines back and forth. That's one thing that I did enjoy from it. The mystery box had a pretty cool theme to it as well. It wasn't just a regular mystery box. But yeah, that's about it. As far as my overall opinion about zombies, I mean, it was cool. That's kind of just how I feel about zombies now. I'm more so excited to play the bigger map just to see what that's about, maybe the Easter egg and stuff like that. That's really all I look to zombies for at the moment. Maybe, you know, the camo grinds, but that's kind of just to get the camos, not out of pure enjoyment for zombies, if that makes sense. What I get pure enjoyment in zombies for is the Easter egg. And I don't know if the survival maps will have Easter eggs. I mean, I don't know if they would. So that's why I'm excited to play the bigger map, which is what we didn't have a chance to play. But like I said, for you camo grinders though, like me, this survival map farm is probably going to be perfect. But yeah, man, that's about it. I'm glad I could finally go into detail about what I actually played when I played Black Ops 7 a month or so ago. I will say it has been pretty annoying to not be able to say what I played and how I felt about playing it and stuff like that, especially when trailers and teasers and stuff like that come out, because I could see a lot of things and think, you know what? I played that, or I saw it when I played it, or I actually used it. I think they tweeted out a picture of the MAA1 at one point, and I was thinking, man, little does anyone know, this is the best weapon in the game. But yeah, I'm glad I could finally say it, man. If you guys have any questions as to things I may have missed out, may have forgotten, because I tried to cover everything, but if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer every single last one of them. But yeah, I'm just really excited for the beta now, man. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.